As we take our seats, I always like to elevate my hips onto a block or a bolster. So you can try that on and see how that feels to your body. As we come to a seated position, I invite you right away to just close your eyes and listen. Take a moment to listen to the sounds around you. In today's practice, we're going to practice a meditative technique called Wan Yin listening. And we use this in yoga teacher training as a method of listening compassionately when another person is sharing their experience and their words. But today we're going to use it more as a meditative practice that we'll use in all of our postures. So we can start by listening to just the ambient sounds of our room. I'm not going to play music today, and I'm going to give you pauses where I'm not speaking. And that act of listening to sounds around us is actually a practice of meditation and mindfulness. So I invite you into that experience, even of listening for the sound of silence and realizing that there really never is silence. There's always some kind of a hum and a buzz in the world around us. So as we're sitting, let's find a tall spine. We are going to focus a lot on all the movements of the spine today as we're in this practice of listening. So as you shift your weight a little bit from side to side, you'll feel that you're sitting on two sitting bones. And I'd like you to really anchor down through those two sitting bones. Those form the bowl or the base of the pelvis. And so see if you might even bring your fingers to your hip bones in the front and the back and just feel that bowl that forms the base of the spine. And if we reach back here, we can feel the sacrum, which is a large triangle-shaped bone at the bottom of the spine. The sacrum and the tailbone are 9 bones that are kind of fused together. And this forms the rigid or firm part of our spine that gives us the ability to be upright creatures. And then moving up from there, 24 movable vertebrae that give our spine plasticity. So we have both form, solidness. In yoga, we call it sthira. And we have sukha, sweetness, the ability to move our bodies. So as you inhale, feel yourself lifting taller, as if you could just pull yourself up through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, feel your bones, your body settling here, the rigidity, the fixed firmness of the base of your spine. Inhale, lengthening up into the softness, the ease. You might even wiggle just a little bit as you breathe in. And then exhale, plug back into that firmness, the stability at the base of the spine. Take one more deep breath in like this. And out. With your hands on your knees, let's just explore a seated cat and cow. So just moving our spine forward and back, extension and spinal flexion. I want you to just reflect that in this rounded over position, this curled position, that's where we all started. In utero, our spine was round. And it didn't need to have curves until we started to sit and stand upright. And then we miraculously developed these 4 curves that are really unique to a human being with its upright stature. We're going to twist from side to side, just nice and easy, just identifying another action of the spine rotation. So just gently bring one hand to a knee and the other behind you. Kind of warming up like a really slow washing machine, side to side. And we'll come back to center and we'll play with lateral movements. So setting one hand down, reaching the opposite up, and we'll move from side to side here. So the spine really likes to move. It likes to be neutral. And the spine appreciates moving in just one direction at a time. So as an example of what can be troublesome is if I move here in lateral flexion and then try to twist, I can create additional points of stress in the spine, and it doesn't always love that. So today we'll just play with pure movement in one direction at a time. And then let's release that. Roll your shoulders a few times. Get some movement, some lubrication up around the shoulders. And we'll sweep the arms all the way up. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, interlace your fingers, press your palms to the ceiling. And imagine just putting your hands on the sky and your hips into the earth. A little bit of a tug of war in two directions. Close your eyes and breathe here and hear the sounds around you. And returning the palms down, release the fingers to the floor. Let's shift into child's pose. Taking the knees wide, letting the spine round. And the reason we call this child's pose is this really is that womb-like position where we all started out. So let your tailbone tuck, let your chin tuck. Feel the roundness in your spine. And then start to lift up, imagining the effort that took as a new baby, right, to lift this heavy bowling ball. Bring your hands to the floor underneath you and notice the strength it takes to just find a neutral spine. So then let's begin that flexion and extension again here in cat and cow. Moving first from the tailbone, then the sacrum, and then moving up through those four curves, the head moving last. And we're just matching our movement with breath. Take your time, see if you can find any spaces up and down the length of the spine that really need your attention. And you can slow down there, put a little bit more space between those particular vertebrae. And then we'll come back to neutral. Tucking the toes, we'll lift the hips into downward facing dog. And here you can just pedal your heels. We often think of this pose as a stretchy pose, but today I'd like you to just think of your spine, tailbone pointing up to where the wall meets the ceiling. And now the stable part of the spine is on top. The mobile or loose, sweet, soft part of the spine is on the bottom. So just shake your head yes and no, feeling the curves, the length. And then we'll slowly walk our feet up toward our hands. Feet are about hips distance apart, touching fingers to elbows, ragdoll. So as much as possible, lengthen the spine. Try to do a little less rounding of the spine and a little more length. And you can do that by bending the knees a bit more. Pressing hands to shins, lift and lengthen, and then sweep the arms all the way up. Extended mountain. Good, and then we'll lower the arms to our sides. Take a moment here in mountain pose. So if you think about all living animals, humans have the most narrow base of support. We have 2 limbs instead of 4. We have the highest center of gravity, and we have this big marble here on top that we have to hold in place. Our giant brains need some space. So think of the job of the spine as really supporting this kind of awkward structure as animals go. We're going to inhale the arms up, take a deep breath in. On the exhale, hinge from the hips, the chest leads forward. So all these muscles have to support that spine in its length as we come down into forward fold. Lifting halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog. Shifting forward into plank pose. Let's all drop our knees this first round through. Spin the elbows and take that neutral spine with you down into chaturanga. Preparation for next week when we will do 67 of these. But today we won't. Melt your body to the ground. Roll your shoulders onto the back. Find cobra. So here we are in spine extension. Close your eyes. Listen to the sounds around you. And return to child's pose. We'll tuck the toes, lift the hips up into down dog. See how much space you can put between your sitting bones and your fingertips. Eyes forward, feet to hands. Let's lift halfway with a big exhale. Forward fold. And then rising high, extended mountain. Hands to heart. Pausing again to feel the muscles in the torso, constant tension to keep ourselves upright. Gravity wants us to do this, right? So we're constantly working to stay in this upright, tall posture. Let's do another lift, another sun salute. Exhale, forward fold. Press hands to shins, lift halfway, and step back, downward facing dog. Take a vinyasa. You can be on your knees or your toes. Cobra or up dog. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. Dropping our knees to the mat. So we explored cat and cow earlier. Now let's explore sideways motion. So bringing one shoulder toward that same side hip, looking over your shoulder. Kind of a little feeling of wagging your tail. And then barrel roll. So drop your belly down like we do in cow. You're in spine extension. And then start to shift off to one side. Pull yourself up into cat. Shift to the other side. So with all 4 limbs on the ground, let's just see about how much spine articulation we can find. Those 24 movable vertebrae and the discs in between them. How much movement can you find? Return and go the opposite way. Maybe even bend your elbows. You're in a safe and stable base. So how much can you move your spine in this position? Movement of these vertebrae help to lubricate them. And hydration is really important for disc health. Let's come back to downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in, a long exhale. And slowly walk feet to hands. Come back to that long, strong spine and then exhale, fold. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, good and warm, yeah? So let's bring our hands to our hips, maybe a little bit wider stance so you feel stable here. Scoop the left arm up and over. Let's come into lateral flexion, side flexion. And you can let your hips shift to the side, lift the shoulder, lift the elbow, and we'll come back up and switch. I like to have my hand on my hip. It gives me a little more support. You're welcome to lower the arm if that feels better. So as you're moving side to side, I'd like you to think of that idea of hydration to these joints. Starting with drinking lots of water. But did you ever realize in the morning when you wake up, you're taller? And that's because those vertebra got uncompressed. We weren't upright for a while and they kind of got fluffy and puffy again. Same thing with yoga. We leave yoga a little bit taller. All right, inhale both arms up. Let's interlace the hands again. Press the palms to the ceiling and pause here to listen. Listen to the sounds around you. And then release your hands down to your sides. Let's reach back. And if you have a strap, you can grab it or you can interlace your fingers. Open up through the chest, through the collarbones. Come into spine extension. So this is a little back bend. And then we're going to combine that with spine flexion. So bending the knees, bringing the hands to the thighs, round your back, come into standing cat. Let's just create a flow with that. Inhale, spine extension. Exhale, round. Tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin. Move at the pace of your own breath just a few times here. Let's start to use Ujjayi breath as we're just flexing and extending the spine. Hearing the sound of your own breath is an awesome sound to listen for. And then let your fingertips come to the floor. Let's step our left foot back and dropping our left knee down to the ground. Take a moment here to loosen hip flexors. We all have tight hip flexors from all of our sitting, and that creates a tug at the low back. So stretching these guys is a great way to relieve tension and give the spine a little bit more length. So we're going to create another little flow here. Let's exhale back to a hamstring stretch. Take a moment to let that baby wake up a little. And then we'll inhale to a kneeling lunge. Let's press our hands to the front thigh, coming up into a little bit more of a back bend. And you can stay here or lift your arms overhead. On an exhale, open, twisting. So now you're going to come to an upright spine, spine straight up and down, open out into twist. And then we'll exhale the hands back to center, lowering down to the floor. So just start to move through those shapes on your own, from hamstring to kneeling lunge, pressing up, and then finding a twist. Just move as slowly as you like. I'm going to give us a little bit of time here. I'm going to stop talking and let you listen to the sounds around you as you flow through these shapes. Go one more time, nice and slow. Just in the space of listening to the sounds around you, letting your ears be receptive to sound. Let's bring the hands inside that right knee. Let the knee drop open, a little kind of a version of lizard. You can be up on your hands or down on your elbows. Just let that hip start to see the light of day. Deep, slow breaths. Listening. And then we'll bring that knee back up. Let's tuck the back toes under. Fingertips come forward, lift the back leg, and then just bend and straighten that knee. Kind of shake out through the hip a little bit. And replace the foot to the floor. Probably feels like you have one leg longer than the other. Let's lift halfway and sweep all the way up. And come back to heart center. Feel like you're standing crooked. Let's reach up again and swan dive, forward fold. We'll step the right foot back, dropping the knee. Pausing here in the hip flexor. So let your whisper sounding breath be music today, that H sound. And slowly shifting back to the hamstring. Easy here, just allowing time. Come forward and gently press on the front knee. And this could be enough. This might be a really great staying place. Or if it feels better, bring your arms up. Find a nice high reaching lunge. And then let your body shift to neutral before twisting the arms open. Gorgeous. Sweep forward and begin your flow. From hamstring to lunge, lifting and twisting. Maybe you can practice just really listening with more than your ears, listening with the senses of your body. So what is your body hearing in these movements? If your spine could speak to you, is there any way, anywhere along this journey that your spine is kind of tapping at your shoulder, like, hey, listen to me, I'm whispering, maybe screaming, hopefully not. Let's do one more flow. Beautiful, you guys. Really nice. Hands come to the inside of the foot. Let the knee drop open and find yourself here in lizard. Stay up high or lower yourself down. We're here for a few breaths, listening. And coming back to center. Let's tuck the back toes, fingers come forward, lift that leg and just shake it out a little bit. And both feet on the ground, lifting halfway. Let's reach all the way up. And we're going to take our feet wide. So you might turn to the side of your mat, interlace your fingers and lift as high as you can. So let's feel really grounded right here and move our spine again through lateral flexion. If this creates stress, you can drop the hand to the hip again or make the movement smaller. So just side to side, lateral flexion. Every one of the discs up and down the spine loves this movement. And a happy spine makes a happy life, right? And then come to center, cactus the arms, find a little upper back bend. And then we'll reach the arms straight out to the sides. Let's turn our left toes to the side and we'll come down into warrior two. So in warrior two, we want to find that straight spine, the strong base at the bottom, the more mobile spine at the top. So just turn your head to look backwards and forward. Notice the easy movement at the top of the spine, the stability at the bottom. So straighten the front leg, and I want to try a little experiment here. We can get into triangle pose by moving the spine, but that's actually not what we want. So I want you to just see what that would feel like. Bring your hands to your rib cage, keep your hips fixed, and just move lateral from the spine, and then open into triangle and see how that really, it's kind of a lifeless pose actually. So come back, bring your hands to the creases of your hips and shift from the hips. So let the movement be at the hip. See how my spine doesn't change at all. So shifting the hips, arms are out. We're gonna reach for the sidewall and that spine stays super straight. Go as far as you can, then dip your arms into Trikonasana. And there you have it, an alive and active pose. Can you feel the stability at the base of your spine? Turn your head to look up and down. Find mobility at the top of your spine. Awesome blossom, right? Let's return to warrior two. Okay, and now lateral flexion. Reverse warrior to side angle. Lateral flexion, that should feel really good after triangle. Awesome. Hear the sound of your breath. And windmill your hands to the earth. Let's come into downward facing dog. Shifting forward onto the knees, inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And then keep your chin tucked, round yourself back into child's pose. Let's bring the elbows close to the knees, maybe forehead on hands. How much of a little ball can you curl yourself into here? Spinal flexion, just like in utero. And then bring your hands to your knees, press yourself up, come all the way up to the knees, hands in the back pockets, a gentle camel. Pause right here in this backward bending pose. You can stay here or reach for your heels. Listen to the sounds around you. And return to neutral. With hands on the floor, stepping forward into lunge, we're going to rise up again into that wide straddle position. Bring your arms up overhead, interlace, and side to side. So see if you can feel here what we call axial extension. So think of your spine as the axis of your body lifting up. So think of all the muscles in your body you would use to just stand taller. Lifting up from the pelvic floor, lifting up from the navel, up through the chest and shoulders. Lift as high as you can, stay lifted, and lower your arms. And see if you can feel that sense of being more buoyant, more tall. Let's turn the opposite foot, probably your right foot. We're coming out into Warrior Two. And then prepping for Trikonasana Triangle, straighten the leg. Feel again, lateral flexion, which is what we don't want here. And instead, sideways hip flexion. So you're really creating a big crease there. As you reach, straight spine, windmill the arms. Find deep breaths here in triangle pose. Turn your head to look up and down. Feeling where the spine is stable, where the spine is mobile. And then bending that knee, return to Warrior Two. Turn your head to look both ways. And let's begin lateral flexion. Side angle to reverse warrior. Exploring the extremes here, how far you can go in both ways. Good, the hips are fixed. All the movement of the spine. One more reach. And back to Warrior Two. Let's straighten the legs, turn the toes sideways, reach behind, either grab a strap or interlace, and then hinge from the hips. Take that long spine with you all the way down to a forward fold. Think of sitting bones to the ceiling. You can bend your knees if you need to. Breath. And return your hands to the floor. Let's come up to a flat back, softening the knees, press to thighs, and return to stand. All right, we're going to turn to face the front of our mats. I apologize if your directions are off. Let's all take our right foot forward. So if you've got your left foot out in front of you, go ahead and switch. We're twisting now. We want to twist to the right first. So as we move into this pose, I want to introduce Maha Bandha. And that's putting three big bandhas together, locks together. So start with Mula Bandha, lift your pelvic floor. Imagine bringing the navel in and up underneath your ribs, that's Uddiyana Bandha, and then tuck your chin just a little bit, Jalandhara Bandha. So we've created this really long spine, and we're going to take that with us as we hinge from the hips. So keep Mula Bandha, keep belly lock, Uddiyana Bandha, keep a slight chin lock as you fold over your right leg. And then the left hand to the shin, or you could use a block, right hand to the sacrum. Start to rotate your shoulders open to the right side. So we're twisting from the middle of the back up. And there is our twisting triangle. So keep pulling that right shoulder back. Feel this strong, stable base all the way up to where the head can turn to look at the ceiling. Maha Bandha, keep Mula Bandha engaged, keep belly lock, keep chin slightly tucked. Deep breath in, there should be some heat building. And then exhale, release, fold over your leg. Yay. And then lifting to a flat back, step your back foot forward and your forward foot back, just switch legs. So let's bring ourselves up to standing. We're going to create Maha Bandha again before we go into that twist. Hopefully that feels like you have a little more muscular support. So pelvic floor lifts, belly button in and up. Think of tucking it up under your ribs, chin slightly tucked, and then we hinge from the hips. So taking that nice long spine all the way forward, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, chin lock, right hand either to shin or block, left hand on the sacrum, rolling open. You can keep your eyes open, but set your eyes on a drishti point, 1 point, and hear the sounds around you. Hear the sounds within you. One more deep breath in, friends. Exhale, unwind and fold over your left leg. Pyramid pose. Just let yourself drape over that leg. And then sweep the hands to the inside of that foot. Let's come back again to downward facing dog. Option to take a vinyasa if you like. And we're just going to meet on our knees and sweep the legs around into a seat. If you have a strap nearby, you're welcome to find it for these next few poses. So on the floor, getting back onto those sitting bones, a little rock and roll, find your most neutral spine. So if you take your hands behind you, there's a nice inward curve here. Behind the ribs, there's a little outward curve, and then the neck provides an inward curve again. So we are going to bend our right knee and keep our left leg straight. Using a strap or your hands around the bottom of your foot, shifting onto the front of the sitting bone. So Janu Shirshasana, we're going to start here with a long spine. And we will get to that forward fold, I promise, but I'd like you to start with neutral. When you find neutral, you find a little sensation, close your eyes and listen. Can your ears pick up sound beyond the walls of the room that you find yourself in? Is there outdoor sound coming through? Lean a little further forward and listen. And if you'd like to stay here, this is a great place to stay. But if you're kind of hungry for a deeper stretch into the back, go ahead and round your body over your leg and come into this sense of surrender, of letting go of the effort to hold the spine. Let gravity come in. And now shift the listening inward. What do you hear when you listen to your body? Let's gently press ourselves back up to neutral. The fun little transition. So we're here in Janu Shirshasana. Take that straight leg out wide. And with our right knee bent, we're going to take the right hand to the floor. The left arm sweeps us up onto that knee. Just come into a nice, big, reaching, I don't know what, back bendy pose. And then come back to seated. Find your neutral spine and ease yourself into a twist to the right. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, ring out. And returning back to center, we'll take both legs straight out in front of us and give them a little shake. And then let's bend the left knee and straighten the right leg. Getting right on top of those sitting bones using a strap, ideally, or hands. But what allows you to have the straightest, tallest, most erect spine. And as we start to hinge forward, you feel yourself getting onto the front of your sitting bones. Breathe right here. And again, close your eyes. Let your ears receive sound. Slowly inching forward a bit more. And when you're ready, if you like, surrendering down into a forward fold with spinal flexion. Just let gravity take over. Breathe into your back and hear the sounds, the whispers of your body. And when you're ready, slowly coming up, taking that knee or that leg out a little wider, left hand to the floor, right arm reaches forward, up and back. And then exaggerate some deep breaths here, friends. Really fill up and empty out. And then release. Find a neutral spine and gently twist to your left. Inhale tall, exhale deepen. And slowly return to center. Both legs out in front, give them a little shake. Take one more deep breath in, arms reaching. Exhale, fold over both legs. Let yourself sigh out loud. And then coming back to a seat, and we'll roll down onto our backs. Knees into chest, give yourself a nice big hug. Maybe a little movement on the ground, side to side, corner to corner. If you like happy baby, take a moment there. Just massage your back. Feel every part of your spine that you possibly can. Notice how when the knees are in, your lower back feels the ground. When your knees are away, it comes off the ground. Just explore that delicious movement of the lumbar spine. And then planting the feet on the ground, come up into bridge pose. Your choice of just bridge, hands interlaced, or maybe something under your hips supporting your bridge. And once again, close your eyes and listen. Let your ears just absorb sound. You don't need to turn it into a thought or a label, just absorb sound. When you feel ready, go ahead and release any of your props and start to find the earth below you for Shavasana. And take another moment to explore the spine. You might bring your hands to your hips and feel the pelvis and the way the sacrum just rests right on the earth. You might slide your hands under your low back and feel that there's a gentle inward curve there. You can feel the outward curve resting on the ground under your rib cage. And the neck is another upward or inward curve. As you come into Shavasana, I invite you to imagine that your mind is an innkeeper. It's a host to visitors. And thoughts are those visitors. And they come and they spend the night and then they go on their way. But the host, the innkeeper, is constant, always there. So if your mind wanders to a thought, just let that thought enter like a gracious host would, and then just send it on its way to travel the rest of its journey. Trying your best here to just listen, to just listen. As you continue resting, I will leave you with a poem by Fred Arcolio. This is called Stillness. The more still we become, the more we descend from our crystal imaginings, our man-made mirrors, sink into the tender, ferocious efficiency of the seed. Our fleshy density, our tiny eternity, the murmur underground, pregnant to bursting. No noise, only sound. The murmur underground, pregnant to bursting. No noise, only sound. So, as you awaken to a new moment, listen again to the sounds in the room around you, perhaps outside these four walls. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and see if there is sound in movement. As you stretch your body and limbs, scrape across a mat, is there sound? As you yawn and sigh, let your ears take in the sound. We'll begin to roll to one side and come back to a seat whenever you're ready. And let's bring our hands together here in front of our hearts in a gesture of gratitude. As we leave our mats today, may we be better at listening, starting with listening to these wise and wonderful bodies that are always trying to inform us, listening to our thoughts and our thought patterns, and perhaps choosing different thoughts that serve us better. Listening to the sounds around us as a way of just drawing into a moment. And perhaps most importantly, listening to each other. Thank you all for being here today, bowing to the bigness and beauty in each of you. Namaste.